fly. I can't run at a supersonic speed.
Up, and away!
Welcome to the Christian Car Guy Radio Show.
I say this calls for action, and now.
Love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could ever. Love lifted me, oh, when love lifted me, oh, love lifted me, when I thought my sin was too much, when I say I'm not good enough, when I think you won't be restored, Jesus will lift me.
They came bearing myrrh, love's heaviest burden, actually grief. And they left bearing witness today on the Christian Car Guy Show. I know that's a long title, but I have been excited to share this message God gave me for Easter. But as many know, I was in an accident a week ago Monday. And so if you're watching this right now on YouTube or Facebook or something, you see I have a cervical collar on. I'm actually broadcasting from my house. Well, I get the Jesus Labor Love with me in the studio. It's good to have you in. Jesus Labor Love is single for single moms, widows, and families in crisis. So welcome, Scott.
Good morning, Robbie. I'm so sorry about your accident.
Yeah, it was its own way of, having sort of an Easter miracle. And I want to talk about that because that idea of, when you think about these myrrh bearers, in the Bible, talk about Mary Magdalene and Salome and Mary, the mother of Jesus, all these people that came to the tomb based on the gospel account that you read, they were bearing myrrh, as did Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea the night they took Jesus off the cross. And I don't know if you've given much thought to these people in this practice that they had, because it's nothing that we do in today's culture. We don't anoint bodies anymore. They embalm them, things like that, or they cremate them, and it's just a completely different process. But when you think about it, these people were literally risking their life to do what it was they were doing, especially when they came to the tomb the next morning. They didn't even know how they were going to roll the stone away, but they were embracing, myrrh itself, the idea of death and the idea of grief. And it's a fascinating thing that I don't know if you ever thought about how much love it takes to anoint a dead body, especially when that dead body is Jesus, especially when that dead body is your Lord, as Mary would say. They've taken away my Lord, and I don't know where they've put him. So she still considered him to be her Lord, yet he was dead. And with his death came the end of a lot of their dreams, a lot of their hopes. But that didn't change the fact that they were there at the cross to the end, that they helped take the body down, they anointed it, and then that next morning they were going to anoint it again to risk their very lives. And I can't help but think about my own father's passing. And my father passed away in the house I'm sitting in actually right now. He was in the bedroom when he passed away. My wife was there with him. And when I got there that day, the mortuary came eventually, and they were going to take his body out, to, I guess, the hearse, to carry it to where they were going to embalm him. And they were, I guess, a little inexperienced or whatever. And as they were trying to get him out of the bedroom door, they dropped him. And
Wow.
I've never forgotten it, and I never will. Like, that was my father, who I dearly, dearly loved. And
Right.
his body was very, very precious to me.
Yeah.
And it gave me a sense of, how these people felt about Jesus's body. Like, you just don't drop it off the cross. You love it.
Right.
They or over 100 pounds of myrrh and aloes, and this idea of they were burying this grief. They were burying this unbelievable sense of however, when you think about what actually happened, the beauty of it and the beauty of my father is actually they came bearing that grief, but Jesus had already borne it. And because of that, they left bearing witness. In other words, Jesus took all that. He took death. He took all that. And so, I can't even imagine, what it would have been like, right? To actually look in that tomb and see that he was gone. And it actually says when Peter did that, he believed. Or maybe it was John that said he believed, one of the two disciples there. And then all of a sudden, this witness to the most amazing thing that's happened in the history of the world happened. But I'm going to guess that in all our cases, we have something that we carried that was an unbelievable burden. And the next thing you know, you are bearing witness. And of course, if you're familiar with my story, that like Scott said, I was in an accident last week. And yes, I broke the T3, T4 part of my spine, not the column itself, but the bones themselves. And I severely injured my neck and some of the discs that are in there. And that's the reason why I'm wearing the collar. As this car slammed into the back of us, my beautiful Toyota Prius. And it was Jesus was there to carry that burden. And I got to tell you that when I want to bear witness to this, I want to bear witness to that. It was one of the most precious times I've had with my family in a long, long, long time. A lot of people worked to protect our privacy in this time. Of my daughters, my son, and we had this chance to heal. My wife was certainly injured horribly as well, her spine, and she broke her right leg. And so mom was on the ninth floor. I was on the 10th floor of the hospital. The kids were going back and forth. We were there most of the week last week. However, I'm now bearing witness to, man, look at what God did in an amazing way. He gave us all. My daughter was here yesterday. We were having lunch. He gave us all a precious, memory of that I'll never forget. And again, we bear these burdens, whatever they may be, but Jesus' burden is light, right, Scott?
Absolutely.
And that's the beautiful thing of the Jesus Labor Love. And for those who follow the Christian Car Guy show, in other words, when we hear these ladies, right, they got burdens, don't they, Scott?
You bet.
And one of the first things we get to do is pray.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. How many times have you seen that burden come off that lady just from that prayer, Scott?
Many. Too many to even mention. They really do appreciate it.
And it goes from, oh my gosh, that they are overwhelmed. They're telling you their story. And I really think that's one of the ministries that we do, Scott, is just listen to their story.
Absolutely.
And then we get a chance to pray with them. And then we watch as sometimes God completely removes a burden by the repair of their car. Sometimes there's other ways it's happening. But it's an amazing thing. And so I'm hoping that God's done that in your life. And I would love for you to call in today and share that. The number to call in and share is 866-348-7884. That's 866-348-7884. Scott's there in the studio. We'll make sure we'll get your call. Or maybe you've been helped out by the Jesus Labor Love. We got RK in the garage coming up at the bottom of the hour. Just, it's going to be a regular Christian Car Guy show, in spite of the fact that I am at home this morning. Again, Scott, as I say these things, what resonates in your mind, buddy?
Well, so many people that have children, and these are mostly single women, pretty much all of them, or a few widows, they've just had so many traumatic things happen to them. Or I speak with a lot of people that have a special needs child, or they just have such hardships that have put them in that position. And lately, this last week or two, I've spoke with many that are able to work, are excited to work. And I just heard from one yesterday that just started her first day at Duke Hospital in Durham, the big one. They're like,
Wow, that's awesome.
They have a lot of satellite hospitals. If y'all didn't know that,
I hear that music, Scott, which means we got to go to a break. Gives you plenty of time to call us with your moment where you went from carrying a burden to bearing a burden to bearing a witness. 866-348-7884. 866-348-7884. We'll be right back.
I can't fly. I can't run at a supersonic speed.
Up, and away!
Thought my sin was too much, when I say I'm not good enough, when I think you won't be restored, Jesus will lift me.
They came bearing myrrh, love's heaviest burden, grief, and they left bearing a witness today on the Christian Show. We are here with Scott Barton and talking about the Jesus labor of love. This week it's our honor always, Scott, right, to share this ministry for single moms, widows, and families in crisis across the country. And this week I had quite an experience with one lady down in Pittsburgh who has got one of these cars. It's an older 2006 Ford Taurus, and it needed ball joints, and it needed tie rod ends, and it needed wheel bearings, and it needed that. And off the case, Scott, that when we look at what all it's going to take to repair a car, it would be less expensive to get him in another car than it would be to repair the car that we're talking about. And so this is part of the reason why, Scott, we desperately need some cars donated, right?
We definitely do. So far, the beginning of this year has been kind of slow. March historically has been a good month. Here we are in April. So we're looking forward to getting some cars. And please, if you have a car that the grass has grown up around and maybe the tires are starting to dry rot, don't hesitate. Give us a call. We'll come get it. And even if we can't get it running, we'll be able to use the resources to help other people. It looks like we have a caller on line one. It's Shatara, and I think this is from Durham, North Carolina.
Good morning, Shatara. Welcome to the Christian Car Guy Show. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. I hope you guys are.
We are blessed.
We are. What do you got for us?
Huh? I couldn't hear you.
How have you been blessed this week, Shatara?
I have been tremendously blessed. I actually transitioned from losing one job and gained another job. I started at Duke yesterday, working in ballet.
Praise the Lord.
I also have been blessed with a job as being assistant manager for Family Dollar as well.
Wow. Boy, you are a hard worker.
Yes, sir. But also, God has blessed me tremendously just by being honored to be privileged to know you guys, because you guys have been a part of my life for on and off for maybe a couple of years now.
Such a privilege.
Yes.
Such a privilege.
Scott, tell us a little bit about that story.
Well,
I've had a lot of different issues with my vehicle. Because of hardships, I've been unable to do a lot of things to my vehicle, but I have been blessed with being able to get tires for my vehicle, because one of the tires went flat on my vehicle in the past. this was maybe about 2 years ago. And then I had an issue where I thought I needed a tune-up, and I found out I didn't need a tune-up, but I needed something that was more major, which was an axle for my 2018 Nissan Altima. And I was blessed to have you guys to help me get the axle for my vehicle so that I'm able to drive. I do need a little bit more stuff done, but I'm grateful because that was a major issue that I couldn't complete at that present time because of financial hardship.
Wow. So did you have to work last night? I think you said you have to work weekend.
I worked yesterday, but I also worked the last night at Family Dollar.
Wow.
I typically go in from maybe 2:30 to 3:30 to 10:30 at night. The last job I had as a caregiver that I ended yesterday was 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then sometimes I would try to do Uber just to have enough money for gas and stuff throughout the week because I spend a lot in gas from traveling for work.
Wow, I am so proud of you. I actually talk to a lot of people that are unable to work for whatever reasons, and not having reliable transportation is one of them, but a lot of times they'll have special needs children, or they have to take care of an elderly, or they're on disability, or a lot of times they're waiting to get disability. And I'm just so proud of you, and it just warms my heart. Lately, I've talked to a lot of people just like you that are doing everything they can to seize every opportunity. What is that called where you deliver food, you said?
It's Uber.
Uber, yeah. Or DoorDash. I know a lot of people that have been doing that, older folks, and it's a way to generate revenue in a timely manner that really, really helps.
It does help out a lot because you actually get a payout the same after each delivery, or you can pick weekly pay. And so it is a blessing to have, but sometimes it does put a lot of wear and tear on your vehicle because they have you drive a long distance to get some of these orders because they have Uber delivery, they have Uber packages, they have Uber Eats, and they have Uber rides. So it's 4 different things they have that you can do.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So tell us about the valet thing at Duke. I know Duke is colossal, and so don't they have golf carts that you go around and pick people up, or will you be in the parking deck, or will you? I mean,
well, this particular area that I'll be in, I just found out we'll be more in the specialty side of Duke. And from what I learned yesterday, it's just assisting people with getting into their wheelchair, and then the patient transport actually transports them to where they need to be. That's part of my duty because I'll be doing traffic.
Wow.
Traffic. I forgot what they called it, but it's more like traffic instructor or something, a guider that guides you where you need to go, as well as doing the driving with picking up vehicles that people want to pay for valet and then taking it to the valet area and then bringing the valet.
You'll have a chance.
Wow, well, we got to go to a break.
Okay.
Thank you for your call.
More Christian Car Guy.
You're welcome.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Garage. We'll be right back.
I can't run at a supersonic speed.
Up and away!
When I thought my sin was too much, when I say I'm not good enough, when I think you won't be restored, Jesus will lift me.
They came bearing myrrh, love's heaviest burden, grief, and they left bearing a witness like we do when we go through difficult things like we've been talking about today with the Jesus Labor Love, and then God gives us a witness. And we're so grateful for Scott and what we're doing with the Jesus Labor Love. But right now we got, hopefully we got RK in the garage. And we got him lined up, Scott?
Yes, we got Miss J on line 1, RK on line 2. can get
All right,
Miss
RK.
J to hold.
Yeah, that'd be fine. RK, you're on the Christian Car Guy Show. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Robbie.
Morning,
How are you?
RK.
Yeah, so Scott, if you could just kind of let us talk, and so RK, today we want to talk about gaskets, right?
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit, your experience, and like gaskets are a huge deal when it comes to getting things sealed, right?
That is correct. I've had the encounter in the last 3, 4, 5 years, maybe even longer. People coming in with problems with their gaskets leaking and things like that. And I take the GM and Ford made reusable gaskets in the late 80s and 90s, and they stamped it right on the pan. And I've taken these pans down, and here people have thrown that gasket away. That's a $30, $40 gasket. And it's embedded with steel and rubber, and it doesn't go bad. And it's beautiful for sealing, but they put these rubber gaskets on with silicone, and then we have problems. And I've had a Buick come in. This is no joke. Buick came out of a service shop and says it runs out of gear. And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, when he took the pan down, there's a filter. It has a neck on it, just like our necks, and it goes up about 2 inches or so into the front pump, has this seal that you have to insert in there, and so this filter neck is tight. Well, if you don't put that seal in and you put another filter in, it could suck air, not oil, because it's above the level of the oil in the transmission. So that's another thing that I've been having trouble with the gaskets. People not putting that new seal in and just putting the old stuff in. I notice it when I take the pan down, the filter drops an inch. No, it should drop maybe a quarter of an inch, not an inch. So that seal is loose, sucking air. Nobody puts the right parts back in. The DUI, the self guys that do it out in the field, they're worse because they take a silicone gasket that it hardens, and it takes you 3 hours to get the pan gasket off the pan. So anyway, that's what I've been telling.
And so actually, RK, when you go to, even when you get these, total rebuild kits, when you're doing transmissions, right? Because you realize that the old neoprene is the way to go. You actually go out and get a different gasket than what comes with the kit, right?
Well, yes. Well, not recently, but the early models don't have the reusable gasket, so it's called Duraprene, and the Chevrolets use it. I had to do it last week. I went 15 miles just to get the right gasket. I could have went into town and got a cheap rubber one at O'Reilly's or Napa, but I wouldn't do it because I got problems. So I went and got neoprene. I stocked about 3 or 4 of them, but they're for the old Chevrolets and 4060Es that don't have that reusable gasket. So it's called Duraprene. It's good stuff. It's a solid material, and it's not cork, and it doesn't leak, and it's perfect. I mean, it's $8 gasket for a little pan gasket, but it's well worth it.
RK, this is Scott, and I have a gasket question for you. RK, you know how when older cars and they start leaking a little oil, and actually this has happened in my mom's Subaru Outback. It's been leaking oil for about 8 years, just a little, not bad, but you can smell it when it gets on the manifold sometimes. But the mechanic told her, and one of them told me as well, that it wasn't worth fixing, that it would cost too much, that just ignore it. And then I've also heard of the stuff you could put in there that helps soften the gaskets, maybe if they're cracked, and sometimes it seals it. I've heard good and bad about that. One mechanic told me that it actually would take away the leak. And then I had another mechanic say, don't do that because in the long run it'll mess it up. So, what is your take on that? I guess the softeners
I'm 100%. I'm 100% against it.
You are okay.
100% against those additives.
Uh-huh.
I add LubeGuard. I add a product called LubeGuard, which is OEM sanctioned, and it's made in Seattle, an international company up there. They make it platinum, they make it red for Chevrolet, brown, the green for Ford, blue for Chrysler, and they make it different ones. And that's a good product. That's a helpful product. It helps the valves and the seals.
So what's it called again, RK?
LubeGuard, Lube Guard, Gard. I have a bunch of sunglasses. If you ever see me, I'm wearing LubeGuard sunglasses. But it's a good product.
You put it in the oil, the crankcase, or what?
No, the transmission.
Okay, gotcha.
But so
And
you're
again,
leaking
Scott, he's talking about transmission
gaskets.
Well, you've seen the transmission. What he's talking about is the seal.
I know he's talking about stuff that goes in the oil
on the head,
and so we want to make sure we don't confuse the listener.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
So no, it's okay, Scott.
I'm following you.
If you'll again just let us talk a minute. The idea is when it comes to motor oil, the main thing it's supposed to do is lubricate the engine. You start putting a lot of stuff in there. And it can mix, it can sludge, it can do a whole lot of stuff that cause a lot of trouble. So, putting stuff in your motor oil to seal up a problem is like a nightmare on Elm Street. I would never ever. But what the lube guard that RK is talking about is something you might put in a transmission, and again, the seals in a transmission. They're critical to the whole pressure and how the car shifts. And it's a completely different thing than trying to repair a gasket that's in a motor oil. But again, getting back to your original question, I'm sure RK, you would agree with me that, if the valve cover gaskets are leaking, replace the valve cover gaskets, right?
Correct.
It's definitely.
I'm sorry. The problem I was going to say with the Subaru, the seal that is talking is probably leaking, if it's transmission leaking, is in where the converter and the rear end are, not where the transmission is. It's in front of the rear end, and the transmission is in back of the rear end, but it's driven by a shaft and gone through there. But that seal is pull the engine out and no seal in it. I don't think that's a bigger problem. You don't have to pull the engine all the way out. Just put it forward, go to the converter, and put a seal in it. But that's me.
Yeah, and I love that about you, RK. That if there's something that needs to be fixed, it can be fixed. That's what mechanics are for. And so, thank you, RK. We loved having you on again today, and a little bit more to learn about gaskets.
Yep.
I appreciate it, RK. Have a great weekend, my friend. I love you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, RK, for being on.
And so, Scott, we've got, did you say Wendy?
Miss J. Greensboro.
Miss J. Oh, I love Miss J.
Yeah.
Miss J, I haven't talked
Thank you
to
for waiting
forever.
so long.
How are you doing?
Hey, Brother Robbie. I'm
So
sorry
nice
to
to
hear
hear
about the
from you.
accident. I just heard it. Yes, and I was going to talk with Brother Scott, but I had gotten sick since I've seen you guys. And I'm kind of confused because I come on the YouTube and they had up there for the day, they came bearing Myrrh and Love and the Burtons. So I'm thinking I'm calling about some Burton things. But also in my heart, I've got this other issue with my car. The car's kind of stopped doing me, and it's going to cost about $4,000. They're talking about to get it fixed. And so I'm back in need again when you guys have already helped me in the past. So, but I'm also calling. I guess it'll be about the Burton as well too. But then I heard about your accident and your wife, and said, "Oh my God!" It kind of touched me so hard. So I'm so sorry about that. Let me get that out the way.
Well, Miss J, I hate we got to go to a break, but we do. And when we come back, we want to pray for you. Want to talk about your situation. And
okay,
I'll look forward to. We'll be right back with everybody. The Christian Car Guy Show. Stay tuned.
I can't run into supersonic feet. Up, up, and away.
When I thought my sin was too much, when I say I'm not good enough, when I think you won't be restored, Jesus will lift me.
They came bearing gifts of myrrh and love heaviest burden, which is grief. But they left bearing a witness, and which we're talking about today on the Christian Car Guy Show, that we are given the opportunity to bear witness often after we bear grief, whether that's through the Jesus Labor Love or something that's going on in your own life. We would love to hear from you. 866-348-7884, 866-348-7884.
Robbie, it looks like we have a caller on line 4, and when
Is Miss J is still with us? I hope.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, I am.
Oh, so Miss J, so you're in need of another car. It sounds like we need to be praying about that, right?
Yes, but I also want to give you the burden of what had took place. Robbie, my mom passed in the last few months, and the car went out, and I couldn't really get there, and they were telling me to come. I did get to see her 3 weeks before she left. I got to do some care for her as much as I could because, I'm out on disability myself. And I cared for her, and then she passed while I was up there. And but to get there, I tried to go and get cars on credit, and my credit was not passing, and I couldn't get a car. And I didn't know how I was going to get to see my mom. I had asked everybody. And then they called me out of the blue and said, we got a car for you. It was a Venture. And so I went to get that Venture. It was smaller for me, and I couldn't find a driver, so I had to go up myself to go with me. So I went there and cared for Mom, and she passed, and I ended up coming back with the car. And I tried to keep it when I got back, but they came and got it. So I couldn't really keep it. And I was all my funds was depleted by helping Mom with everything, with her last final expenses and stuff. And me being there, staying at hotels, and it was awful up there. So I'm still going through my grief stage now, and now I'm not feeling so well today, even I'm kind of weak. But, I know God still was going to lift me up. And then I hear about you and your accident and your wife, and I'm like, you encourage me by even being on the radio talking. So, it's helping me a whole lot. So I got a lot of things going on. And I just want to thank you guys, for being there for me in my times of need. But I've been kind of bitter and angry and not really wanting to talk to people right now.
I can understand. I'm going to reach out to you.
Let me. Can you hear me? Okay. Let me go ahead and pray, Miss J.
Okay.
Lord, I thank you so much for Miss J. I thank you for Scott. I thank you for the Jesus Labor Love, that I would have a connection to such a friend as Miss J. And many times she's spoken into my life. And so, Lord, we just pray that you would catch her heart in this very, very difficult time with her loss. Unbelievable, right? It's one of the things that nobody ever wants to face is the grief of losing a parent. And so I pray that you would walk with her through that. I pray that you would raise up people in her life that would encourage her and not bring her down. I pray that you would give her some steps to climb up on.
Yes, Father.
Give her some people to encourage her and walk with her through, maybe cut her a break somewhere, either in employment or other things that might help her. Lord, I thank you again for a chance to pray with her today. I'm so encouraged by her phone call. And, Lord, I thank you that, it's easy to call when you're feeling great. It's not so easy, Lord, when you're not feeling so great. So I thank you that she had the courage to do that this morning. I pray that you would truly lift her up. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out to you this week. We'll get you on that list.
Well,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for calling. And so, Scott, you said we got someone else calling, right?
Yes, we got Lynette on line 4.
Okay, Lynette, you're on the Christian Car Guy Show.
I think
Good morning.
she's local.
Good morning, gentlemen. This is Lynette. Yes, I would
Thank
be
you for
remiss
waiting.
if I didn't. Yes, of course. I would be remiss if I didn't call to say good morning and to let you all know that I'm very grateful for your ministry. Christian Car Guy and Jesus Labor of Love has helped me in the past several times. And also, I had several friends that received vehicles from you guys that really blessed them. So I just wanted to call and say hi. And also, Robbie, I was the one that called you last week. I reached out, and you were actually in the hospital with your family, and I felt so bad that you were still trying to help me when you were going through your crisis. So I did want to let you know that I'm praying for your family, and so I thank you guys so much.
Wow.
Oh, well,
You're
we
such
thank
a
you,
blessing,
Lynette. And again, it's I've always thought, wow, what an amazing thing that we have this chance to help other people, because sometimes when you're in the hospital, whatever the situation may be, it's kind of nice to get off, to have something to think about. We want you to call in. We would love to hear how God has taken something that was a grief in your life, some burden that you were carrying, and now you're bearing witness. It's kind of a neat thing when you look at the word myrrh. That idea that of grief and myrrh that kind of go together, obviously points to the beginning of Jesus' life and the end of it. And I don't know if you knew that they literally cut a tree in order to get it to bleed the sap that they make myrrh out of. And it looks like tears. And that idea of myrrh is this idea of the tears that go with grief. And, as we think about that, we bear these tears, as we've heard about today, that it's kind of cool that Jesus, right, his burden is light, and we bear witness where we go forth, and we get a chance to talk about that. Thank you, Scott, so much for being on with us today. Thank you for all the wonderful callers. I'm sorry it was a little awkward with me at home, but I'm so grateful for you guys taking part of it. I remember Jesus walked everywhere he went and got it all done in 33 years. Thank you for listening.